All right. Welcome to the So Free and Single with Z podcast. This is Z, and I'm so glad that you're able to join us today. As always, guys, this is going to be a fun time. It's an opportunity for us to discuss topics as singles, just talk about some things. Disclaimer out there that none of us on here are particularly love doctors or out there just, saying this is just the only way to do things. But we're just sharing our experiences and sharing some hot topics that we hear folks talk about in these single streets. All right, y'all. So today we have some great guests. I can't wait to bring them on. They're going to be on here sharing some of their experiences. But let's start off, as I always do, with a little known dating fact. All right. So today's little known dating fact, it says, typically dating specialists suggest waiting until the third date to cook someone dinner at home. Well, wow. So we get 3 days and you get to come to the house. Okay. All right. Well, that probably really is a good segue into our topic because there could be reasons why you can't come to the house. I might, I got my reasons, and I may have a little June bug at home and he don't need for you to be at the house. But we're going to talk about all that today, as our topic is juvenile Jenga. And we want to talk about how do children fit into the dating life, because that's a real issue. Okay. We need to know how we feel about that and if it's an issue or not. So I'm going to bring on my guests. All right, let's bring my guest to the stage. Hey, everyone.
Hello.
Hi. All right. So I'm so glad y'all could join us today. And I want y'all to go ahead and tell the people who you are and where you're joining us from today.
Okay, well, I'll go first because I'm pretty sure James is going to say ladies first.
Of course.
But my name is Mia Lott. I am coming to you live from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where we're at a whopping 19 degrees today.
Oh my gosh.
So yes, that's where I'm coming from.
All right. Well, we're not far behind you in Dallas for some strange reason. It's below freezing here too. So, but all right, James, tell us about yourself.
My name is James Prince, owner of Forever Golden Productions, all the way from Milwaukee, Wisconsin as well. And it's cold. It's cold. I need springtime weather like yesterday.
Yes, absolutely. I didn't sign up for this in Dallas at all. So,
Right.
I'm upset. I left Milwaukee on purpose. So, well, today's topic, we're going to talk about those children. All right. We got these children in these relationships. And I know right now, we're out in these dating streets and we're trying to make sense of what it looks like. But when we have kids involved, it could look a little different. So let's just hear some of your general thoughts. What are your general thoughts about just dating with children are involved?
Personally, I say do it. You don't have to introduce your kids. Dating for me was, and I just want to put a disclaimer out there. My baby will be 21 in about a month. So that's the youngest. But then I have 3 kids, and from the oldest to the middle child, they're 10 years apart. So it looked really different. But It gave me an opportunity also to have some adult time. And I'm not talking about any that kind of adult time, but just at least now talking with an adult about politics or, whatever. It was something different than always being so wrapped up with my kids. It was a balance. Yeah. So definitely found some great restaurants out of it.
Yes. Absolutely. What are your thoughts, James?
I'm all for it, but you gotta keep in mind, as far as dating with children, they always say you gotta have that work-life balance.
Mm-hmm.
I think James froze.
We got a little freeze there. Okay. Work-life balance is James. If you can't hear us, you have frozen. Okay. See, because when somebody's about to say something good, it always gets caught up. That's the devil. It's a lie.
say, if old saints would say that's the devil.
Right, exactly.
Or
Exactly. Let's fix that. Let's see if we can um fix that.
Okay.
All right. All right, James. We're back. We can't hear you though.
I hear you. Still don't hear you,
Still
sir.
can't hear you. Fran, we can't hear you, best friend. No, no, that's all right. So we're gonna work that through. While you working that through, okay. We'll come on back with it. No problem with that. Okay. So dating with children. Okay, so it's that, and as James was starting to say, it's that work-life balance, because we have to, so many times I have seen us put our relationships or finding love on hold because of our children. And that's a dangerous spot to be in as well, putting your relationship on hold. All right, James, you back with us?
All right. Can you
All
hear me
right.
now?
Yes, you're back. All right, you're on.
Okay.
All right. So tell us your general thoughts. You were talking about work-life balance.
As part of life, you got to be willing to balance out the life side of it too. You got to balance out time with your kids. You got to balance out time with your family and friends. You got to balance out time for dating.
Yes.
So even if it's a work-life balance, you got to take each side of it and balance that out as well.
Absolutely. I think we neglect ourselves sometimes for our children. And I too, I have grown kids, 22 and 26, so for me, it's no longer an issue, but it was at one point in time, when I was out there in these dating streets, and I had to be mindful of who I brought around my children, or when is it time? So, what could be some pros and cons of dating with children? Talk to me about some pros and cons.
Ooh, can I start this one off?
Go
Sure.
ahead, James.
Okay. So some of the pros of dating with children is the fact that like all of us have older children and we may have like for instance me, I got an 11-year-old. You know, if need be, I can ask one of my older ones, hey, can you keep an eye on your little brother? I'm going to do XYZ, And that's definitely one of the pros, but it's still that you gotta find time to, make room for dating, make room for yourself.
Yeah.
The one of the biggest cons, and I say this because I was a part of this. After me and one of my exes broke up, she knew my kids very well. After we broke up, and it was a terrible breakup. The kids was like, "Hey, where is so and so? How come we don't get to hang out with her and her kids anymore?"
Ooh,
Oh,
that's that's tough. That is really tough, and not knowing, being able to explain to them like, hey, we don't go together anymore. Like that's not bait anymore. So how do you explain to your kids who have gotten some sort of attachment with that person? That's interesting. Yeah, what are your thoughts?
I think that's when you have to find when the time, if this person is either even worthy to be part of my children's life. When I dated with people with with children, and that was actually my preference, because then I get to see them in that dad role. I was dating with purpose. I wasn't just out in these streets just to be out in these streets,
Right.
but I dated with purpose. And when I saw them with their children or heard them, some kind of interaction or just stories of their, because I also had to respect that they may be hindering from me meeting their kids as well, because they want to know what kind of mama I am and, what am I doing, how disciplined. So I will ask questions, or, I used to come up with scenarios like, hey, the teacher just called me and blah, blah, and just to see what their opinion, they would handle it. And sometimes like, nope, That's not how that will cause strife in my household.
Right.
You have to go over here in this category now,
Yeah.
unless something changed. But yeah, I really was. I think that's why God didn't give me anybody while my children were younger.
I understand that for sure. Like, I have been there where I was in a relationship and there was conflict with how we both saw discipline.
Yeah.
And I really didn't think that through in advance. Like, I am, granted, I still think I have a lot of old school parenting ways in me. Like, I believe you're gonna do some things, you're not gonna just, but I'm also fair, and being an educator for 20 plus years, I see some things, so I know that my kids were generally good kids.
Mm-hmm.
So I was not as hard on them. Whereas the person I was seeing grew up with a very stern upbringing. So it was just like, get up. Why they sleeping? Why they doing this? And I'm just like, because they tired or because there's nothing to do, So those things, that was a conflict. That was
Mm-hmm.
conflict.
Yeah.
So you back, James?
Yeah, I'm back. I don't know what was going on with my other phone, but I'm back.
All right. All right. Okay. So when do you introduce these children? When do they get introduced?
Ooh.
Everybody does not get introduced. So, like I said, the guys I dated, I think two got introduced. One had kids, and the other one did not have children. I saw him interact with his niece and nephews and things like that. But I think also because then my children were teenagers then, um,
Mm.
and so I was like, yeah, you could pick me up at the house now, or I think I had broke my leg, and that was really the only reason why I let him come over. He wanted to
Oh
bring
my God.
me, So I mean, it took a whole lot. And before I introduced my children to them, because I protected them. I just always think you have to protect them. And coming from a
Hmm.
spiritual point of view, I will pray about it. I'm praying about everything. And if I get any kind of, if the Holy Ghost be like, no, I'm going with no. Because
Right.
girls, my son was 10 years older than my daughter. So I would get a feeling. I'm like, it'd be absolutely nothing wrong with this man, but it'd be me. And I
Yeah.
know it. And it's not even that, even when I wasn't just dating, I mean, even certain guys that we come in contact with, James is a great guy because I allowed him to teach my daughter some photography tips when he had done photography for us. So, so it wasn't that I was all afraid of all men or like, oh no.
Right.
So, it's just, I really just proceeded with caution. And I think we just have to take some time, take those love blinders off because we want to be in
Hmm.
a relationship. We want
Yeah.
Yeah.
someone. And so I think you really have to weigh that out.
Yes, I just saw that comment. Introduce children once you're considering a future with that person. That's real there, okay?
Yeah,
Because there's no need for me to introduce you just to any old body. Especially
exactly.
you're not gonna make the cut, so no need to.
Right.
Yeah, you in starting five. Like, no.
Right.
Exactly.
What are you thinking, James? What are you thinking about when you introduce them?
What I'm mainly concerned with is if the person that I am dating does or does not have children. How do you treat your children? How do you pour into your children? How much time do you spend with your children?
Mm,
Because if it gets to a point to where we're in a serious committed relationship or possible marriage, I'm looking at, okay, this is my helpmate. She is going to help me raise my children just as well as if she has children, I'm going to help raise her children. What does that look like? You know, I personally feel like the person that made the comment before, introduce them once you consider pursuing a future with that person. And a lot of people like to put a time stamp on it, like, oh, they shouldn't be introduced in under 3 months or whatever. what if this person is giving bad vibes all the way up to that 3 month mark? And you're trying to like give them the benefit of the doubt, but it's like, well, do I introduce the kids, or do I still continue to wait? I don't believe it's a timestamp thing on it. Like Mia said, often pray about it, let God give you direction on it. And once he say, okay, now is the time, then you go with that.
So what happens? Go ahead, Mia. I'm sorry.
And it's how you introduce them, I think, is also kind of important. I was dating,
Ooh,
and
yeah.
he was a single dad, and our kids were similar to age. My kids were having a birthday party, so I knew it was going to be a bunch of kids there, and it was going to be the parents there, so they didn't have to know who is this guy with mommy. Oh, she invited some people because I was paying for the party. I invited who I wanted to invite.
Exactly.
But then this guy did not show up with his kids. Oh, they're not important. And we had already discussed it. So I was like, oh, okay, I see you have put me in a category. And so,
right.
And I was like, because it was a safe environment for me to kind of meet your children, you to meet my kids, and then we could decide if we could go from there. I mean, you're at Chuck E. Cheese.
Right. Best to be safe.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So let me ask this. So what happens if you've been dating this person, you're digging them, like they are like, this could be it. And then you finally introduce the kids and it is a clash. I mean, a big clash. Now what happens then?
Well, some kids identify some things, and if you know your children, especially if they're well behaved, they don't have problems meeting people. I learned to listen to what my kids say nonverbal. And my daughter, the very first guy I dated, and we had been dating for about 6 months, and we went to I think it was like Olive Garden, and this was like her favorite restaurant. She's 9 years old. She literally went under the table and peed on herself. Oops, I didn't be putting her business out there. People know my baby out in these streets.
Oh no!
And I was like, okay, what is this about? Like, wait.
Right.
And, so out of her character. I had to leave him alone. I said, she saw something that I didn't see. I wouldn't just admit. And, so sometimes, that was like far out of her character. So, so sometimes we just need to listen. And I don't think our children, especially if you know your children, they're not running. Well, my son would, but he was older too. He was 19 at that time. So no, nobody can be with mama.
Right. Oh, mine are still like that for like 30 seconds. And I tell them, if you don't go sit down somewhere, I'm real grown. But okay, James, what do you think about that? Like,
I'm gonna say I was that guy that was the clasher, so to speak. And it was I had met my ex-wife. We introduced our kids after about 4 months, and everything was going great. And I was raised in a household to where like it was me, my older brother, and my little sister. So there was a girl in the mix, but she wasn't raised like, oh, boys are rough, girls are soft. No, our parents treated all three of us the same.
Okay.
We bring home, we go out and act a fool. We all get the belt to the behind.
Yes.
And with me growing up that way, I got all boys. I raised them the exact same way. I'm gonna put my boot to y'all butts. Y'all get out of place. Now, my ex-wife, before we got married, she had a daughter and a son. Okay. Me and her daughter clashed because of, and I never physically disciplined her, but I always corrected her in the same way I corrected my boys.
Right.
And that became an issue because there was a lot of resentment between me and her. And my ex-wife flat out told me, you need to learn her. You need to sit down and study her. But the damage was already done.
Yeah.
And it took within that couple months, it took years to undo that damage, because I had to get her to a place where she knows I'm not there to hurt you.
Right.
So I truly thank God that my ex-wife allowed me to quote unquote redeem myself and actually take the time to learn what it's like to parent different children.
Wow.
Because even though I got all boys, they're all different.
Right. Right.
You
Absolutely.
know, and so it's definitely okay. There may be some clashing, but where do you draw the line and be like, okay, this is enough, or where do you say, okay, this is a teachable moment?
Right. Absolutely. All right. Well, this is getting good. I want to take a quick commercial break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about this a little bit more.
All right.
All right. And we are back. All right. And we are back with the So Free and Single with Z podcast. And we have Mia and James here today. And we're talking about juvenile Jenga. How do our kids fit into this dating life? All right. So we kind of left off just talking about, again, now that interaction and what that looks like and how uncomfortable that could be in certain situations, or how comfortable it would, it could be as well. So I kind of want to pick up there. Okay. So now the discipline. All right. What are those boundaries? What are those lines? Do I get to say something to your kid, or do I not get to say something to your kid when they clown it? Do I have to sit back and wait on you to get home? What does that look like?
Well, I didn't never leave my kids with anyone. I guess, like I said, yeah, that was really, yeah, my nerves were bad on that trauma. Didn't want to do that. One reason I had girls, and also my, and not saying, how the kids go to school and people like my kids don't do that. I knew they were capable of doing things that,
Right.
especially when they weren't in my sight. But if they understood, it's okay to tell, set the boundary, because you are out with this child, whether you're with me or not, that this child is with you and you don't want them throwing a tantrum or acting up. I think that's a discussion you need to have, what that looks like. And definitely, my mom dated while single, and it was four of us, and none of her boyfriends ever hit us.
Right.
That was an absolute no. You could wait till I get home, or you could tell them, sit down, or they on punishment, but
Right.
you weren't going to physically hit us. Now she hit us, but no one else was,
Right.
Right.
But, and so I think, that's definitely something that should be discussed, what discipline looked like, because I didn't have to whoop my kids. They were fairly well behaved, and I had that old school mama look at them down on a church pew, and they was get together.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so yeah, I just think it definitely needs to be a discussion. And what is your level of comfortability? How comfortable are you with, discipline? And I think even if you're coming together, that means you're planning a future together. So that discipline should be discussed, whether you are blending families or planning to have children with this person.
Mm-hmm.
That conversation needs to be had.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. You got to have that discussion. Like you have to set those boundaries, because what happens when you yoke my child up and I'm looking at you like, sir,
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
we gonna get yoked up. It's gonna be a whole lot of yoking going on here.
Exactly.
So Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. All right, James, what are your thoughts about it?
As far as discipline, I am me personally. I don't physically. I do
Oh,
support physical discipline. I'm all about butt whoopings if need be,
right.
because there's a thin line between discipline and abuse.
Yes.
Um,
Absolutely.
I would never physically discipline my partner's child, and I want that same respect in return.
Yeah.
You know, as far as correction, I don't do profanity. I don't do the yelling and the screaming. Hey, this is what you did wrong. These are your consequences. You
Yeah.
know, and if if my child continues to get out of hand with the person that I'm with, okay, I'm gonna let your daddy handle you now.
Right.
You
Right.
know, and on the flip side, it's like, okay, I'm the same way. This is what you did. This is your consequence. You still want to cut up? I'm gonna let your mama deal with you.
Right.
You
Right.
know, they'll like, again, you got to set those boundaries.
Exactly.
So I'm so glad you said something because it kind of triggered another question for me here. So now you're serious about this person, you're dating, your kids are involved. Do you tell their parents about this introduction?
Oh, the co-parent,
The
the baby
co-parents.
mama, the baby daddy
Yes, the baby
situation.
mama or the baby daddy. Do we bring them in this?
So personally, I didn't have to do it. My brother ex-wife wanted to meet his current girlfriend because they were going to start cohabitating. I think when it not when you're just dating, but if you're going to be living together, I mean, if you're taking the kids, y'all going to dinner with the kids, y'all doing the movies. She may come over on Saturday, hang out. I don't think that's none of their business personally. I
Mm,
wouldn't want to know until it becomes like something really serious. You are engaged. You are, about to live together. Then maybe, and it also just depends on the man or the woman. They may not even want to know who you with. Like, I trust you enough that you're going to protect our kids because I know your character. I know who
right,
you are. So it's none of my business that I trust you enough because you are the, father of my children. And so, yeah, just because you didn't work out don't mean they're a bad person or a horrible
Right.
person. They just weren't your person. So,
right.
yeah.
James, what you think?
I think every situation is different because, like Mia touched on, some people may not even want to know you date anybody. Some people may not want to know that, okay, you in a relationship or whatever. Some people, like my ex-wife, okay, I really don't care who you date, but when our son gets involved, I need to know. So if something happens, I know who to go to and how to handle it. You
Right,
know, no matter if it's an emergency to where I'm God forbid I get hurt, she knows, okay, Jordan is with this person,
right, right,
you know, or if that person does something to our son, God forbid, she knows who it was.
right. Who
Mhm.
to shoot up?
Right.
That's exactly how
Pretty
this goes
much.
down. Like, right,
But again, that's one of those things I can't say that yes, you should say something, no, you shouldn't say something. It's that's one of those things where it's very situational.
yeah. I think it does depend on the personality of the person that you have children with. Some of them they're hands on. They're like, look, I need to know, I need to meet her or him. I need to know who's around my kids, all of this. And then you have the people who are, like you said, Mia, they just trust it. They're like, hey, I know you're a good parent. You're not going to bring any riffraffs around my child. So
Mhm.
our child. So, I trust that. Okay. Okay. All right. So now we've talked about the discipline part, but are there, now that you've gotten serious with this person and you think you're moving forward with them, are there any added responsibilities or things that you expect from them?
I would say, well, I'm pretty. I think it is all personal. So, me personally, it was always a no. They're my responsibility. They're gonna always be my responsibility. I don't expect anything, but if you did things, the only other guy that I did introduce to my kids, he believed in Christmas. He wanted to like go all out Santa Claus, and he didn't have children. And so it was a
Yeah.
big thing to him. And I'm like, hey, have at it. Thank you. That's,
Right.
I'm not going to fight you on it, but, I just think it's situational. The individual, you have to do what works for you, but expectation,
Mhm.
I think, is a sticky word because, what if it don't work out? You
Right.
know, and
Mm.
so, I mean,
Yeah.
some certain things that you just kind of do. I've never really, I don't know, for some weird reason, I always wanted to date guys with kids, but those without kids always wanted to date me. I found it weird. And I'm
Ah,
like, no way, I'm not having any more children. But yet they were present. But,
right.
um, I think the ones that did have children, um, they didn't expect anything from me, but, to be respectful to their children. And that's it. Nothing financial or that I had to babysit or pick them up from school or anything like that.
Yeah. Hey, James, what are your thoughts?
My only expectation when it comes to that is I don't expect you to come in and parent my children. It would be great if we can come together and do that, but that is not an expectation of mine. My only expectation is when if there was ever a time that I need help
Hmm.
as my helpmate, I have an expectation for you to be there for me.
Yeah.
You know, hey, I gotta work late. Jordan's mom is still at work. Can you go and pick him up from school? Okay, I got you. And of course, this is after the introduction and everybody is comfortable and stuff like that.
Right.
You know, so that to me is again that's my only expectation is that if there was ever a time that I needed your help, you would be there.
So let me add a little something on. Let me sprinkle a little something on this. So now let's talk about those dating boundaries. So, and I'll use myself as an example.
Okay.
So when I'm out there and somebody is, I'm meeting somebody, introducing them, I don't necessarily want somebody with little kids. I got grown kids, and I'm done with that phase of life. Like, I mean, and not to say it's a deal breaker, but it's a heavy preference. It's a heavy
Mm,
Yes.
that your kids are, if not grown, like high school, junior, senior, to grown, because I don't know that I want to go back to, littles. But what y'all think about that?
It's a personal preference. Again, me personally, it's a deal breaker for me. My baby will be 21 on March 24th. Like, do you know the freedom I have experienced these last 2 years? Like,
Yes,
it's such a level. Sorry, James. When you taste it, it's a
right.
taste and see that the Lord is good. It's good.
It's good. It's real
And
good.
I mean, yeah, seriously. But my grace for little people is kind of limited. I haven't quite hit the grandma mode, and I have a 2-year-old grandchild and a 6-year-old one, and I only can have them around so long without another responsible adult closer to their age to help me because yeah, it's I move different, and so
Right.
yeah, I would if I was still out there dating, definitely a little person, and that is someone out there for them. And I have friends that are near my age, clear. They don't have children, and they love children, and they want to date somebody with kids. So,
Right.
but me personally, I'm good.
Right. James, what you think? Because you got smaller ones.
I
11 years.
got yep, I got an 11-year-old. When it comes to like dating a woman with children, I'm not gonna say little children are off limits. It honestly depends on how many little ones you have. And again, that's just me. I love little kids. I love playing with little kids. I will wrestle a kid until we both pass out and fall asleep. You
Ah,
know, but and I can deal with a woman that has one small child, 2, 3 year old. Okay, cool. If you got 4 or 5 kids and they all 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I'm sorry, you
listen.
know. And my youngest is he's actually in there right now, but my youngest is like I said, he's about to be 12. I'm hoping, if the person that I'm with has children, they're around his age, so he can have someone to play with.
Absolutely.
I'm not too keen on trying to raise another child from a young age to an adult again.
Right.
I got 2 adult children. My oldest is about to be 21. His little brother is 18. Then I got a 16-year-old.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're
You
you're on
know,
you're on the brink of a breakthrough.
yeah, yeah. And
Right there.
so starting all the way over from 2, 3 years old, I can do it if it's one child. Any more than that, it's a no go for me.
Yeah, I'm with Mia on that. Like, and I've tried it. I have given it a shot. I have given it a shot. Um, something I, heard my pastor say. He was just like, "Don't block your blessings," because he kind of started over. But I was like, "Oh, pastor, I gave it a shot.
Mm.
I did,
That's not
did
where my blessings at, Lord.
right because it was every minute, man." And I was glad. It's like I want you to take care of your kids. I wouldn't want to be involved with a man that was not interactive with their children. But every minute it was okay. I gotta go pick this one up. I gotta go drop this one off. I gotta go do this. And I was like, "Hey, we should hang out." Well, my kids got this, and this, and I was just like, "Yeah, I'm an empty nester, so I don't have experiences anymore." So when I just want to get up and go, get up and travel, get up and hang out, I just do it. So that would be a hard one for me. That would be a really, really, really hard one for me. All right, let's take a quick pause. And I do mean a quick pause. This is going to be a super, super, super quick pause for another quick
Okay.
commercial. Come back and talk about this.
All right.
All right, and we're back. All right, we are here with So Free and Single with Z, and we are talking about juvenile Jenga. Like, how do your kids fit into that dating life? And as you saw in the last commercial, if you haven't gone to Education LLC on YouTube and subscribe, please do that. All right, because this is where we're going to be bringing this podcast each and every week. Now, so yes, let's go back to talking about this. Okay, so we were just talking about how it's important to me, and Mia said it's important to her as well. We're not dating if you got littles and our kids are good and grown. And James said, well, as long as they're around the same age as my kid, or if it's like one. So, one little one. And that makes sense, because once you get into that mindset of I'm done with that and that empty nester, I'm telling you, it's a whole switch, a switch
Hmm.
has been flipped, and you get a taste of that. Some parents are sad in the beginning,
Yeah.
and yes, some of them are right, and then right after that, it's like, oh wait. So I always tell parents. So this is my tip that I always give parents. I say when your child is going away to college, whatever. Both of my kids went away to the military. So when they left, I say plan a trip for the day after they leave. Give yourself a taste of freedom, and I guarantee
Mm.
it will heal those wounds. You're like, wait a minute, this is what it's like to be grown. Yes. So plan you a trip so you ain't got time to cry. The wind in your face dries your tears. So
No,
We
Bahamas do.
What's that?
No, Bahamas dry your tears right on up.
Absolutely, absolutely will dry it all up. So, so we talked about some pros and cons to this dating. We've talked with children, and so let me ask this. I know we say there's not a real prescription to this, but is there an age, like an age cutoff, where you're saying it would take a little bit longer to introduce my children? Like if they were, below 13, I probably would take a little bit longer. Or if they're 16 and up, I don't really care. I'm real grown. What's that? What does that look like for you all?
Yeah. I think that sweet age was more like 11 to about 15, 16, where I was like, we're all set in our ways. I probably blame more on me that I was set in my ways, and that we got a groove going. I'm not bringing anybody else in right now. And I really just kind of made peace with that. And it's like, hey, if it happened, it happens. I wasn't intentionally dating then.
Okay.
But after 16, it was like, hey, y'all gonna be leaving me soon. Everybody's gonna be gone. And I'm like, do I really want to be alone? And so I went through a whole battle because I've never lived alone. A little secret about me that I've never lived alone, because when I left my mother's house at 20, I had a 3-month-old baby with me. And then I got married and then had the other two. And yeah, so that was like, oh yeah, that's my goal, to live alone. It didn't happen, but my 2-year-old still kind of lingers around. But she's a great roommate. So
Love it. Love
but
it. Love it.
so I think, but it was okay after 16. It was like, oh yeah, that's mama friend. Oh yeah, that's and it was fine, because it's like, you have your life, go to work, go to school. We're coming to your basketball game because after I'm going to have steak with, Uncle Joe. Yeah. Why did we
Not
used to
uncle. Not uncle. We gotta talk about this uncle term. Boy.
Lord, yes, I hated that. I'm like,
Oh God.
what uncle with my uncle? Wouldn't that make it her brother or her brother-in-law? So yeah.
Right.
right.
Says we can't keep saying uncle.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. James, what do you think? Is there like an age cutoff or something like that?
I would say once the child is in high school, it's kind of like now you're sort of independent. You can do your own thing. I really don't have to worry about you too much. Keep your grades up, yada yada yada. It's kind of like, all right, I don't have to worry so much about someone potentially doing something to my child because they're old enough to speak, they're old enough to have their own voice. My boys are big, so they was more than able to defend themselves if need be.
Right.
But again, I got an 11-year-old, so it's kind of like I don't want to conflict him with, oh, this person is here, now they're gone. And it's kind of like, Daddy, who was that? Who was that? Yada, yada, yada. You know what I'm saying? Now I got to sit and have this conversation to this innocent child about, well, this was so and so, and this what was going on. Because I'm not going to say, oh, that was just my friend.
Right.
If we were dating, I'm going to tell him we were dating and we decided things didn't work out. So that's especially with him, I would wait a little longer.
Okay. Okay. So let me ask this question here. When do you tell the person you're dating that you have children? Do you tell them out the gate? Or is that like second
I
date,
do.
third date?
I tell
That's
him out the gate.
Yeah, that's a first date kind of question. Actually, that's more like a phone conversation. Hey, tell me about yourself. Do you got kids? I think it's part of
Yep.
our character, who we are. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's a big deal, because there are so many deal breakers for people. Like, I want to know that up front. Don't tell me later on, oh yeah, by the way, I had somebody, listen, y'all, I go on a date with somebody, and this was
Uh-oh.
years and years ago. And I get there and we're talking. I was like, okay, and I think we had met online, and it was really quick. He was like, "Hey, let's meet up." Okay, cool. Did that. And he told me, I said, "So he asked me if I had children." I said, "Yes, I have two." And at the time they were still a little bit younger, but and I asked him how many. He said, "I got seven." And I said, "Oh, okay." So I said, "So tell me." He was like, "Well, but I'm not asking anybody to be their mama. Their mamas are very involved in their life, and I'm not asking for somebody to be a mama for my kids. My kids are well taken care of." And and although he said that, and there was a slight de-escalation in my blood pressure, I still was right there, like, I don't know, because in the next coming week, because that's about all it lasted, he was busy with his kids. He was extremely active with his kids all the time, and I couldn't take that from him. But hey, you ain't got time for me. So I mean, does the amount of kids make a difference?
When you get in double digits, that's kind of a problem. I got you beat, Z. It was a gentleman, and we never made it past the phone conversation. And it's funny because other friends and stuff have actually, we know who this guy is. He has 17 kids.
Oh,
And
Oh God.
so I was like, well, I'm glad you claim all 17. God bless you. And so
wow.
now I want to go down a rabbit hole because I'm nosy. How many baby mamas do you have?
Yes, that's the next question.
Yeah, because I already know this is not going anywhere. And, but I'm just nosy and want to know some things like how many baby mamas? Hey, do they all get along? And then he was like, are you auditioning to be one? Absolutely not. I'm just nosy.
No,
Like, I'm
right,
like, this is actually our last conversation. You're being blocked as soon as I hang up.
right.
Oh wow.
You can't call back. Like,
Nice to know you, buddy.
you can't call back. You know
No,
that, right? Wow.
this block ministry is serious, James. It's serious
It
out
is
here.
serious.
Hey, go ahead.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
deep. 17. Because yeah, you don't have time. And if how are you adequately, I'm not saying it because it's not possible, taking care of these 17. How do you have time for them? Are they 17 school age? Are
Yeah.
half of them grown? I mean, I had so many questions.
Mm.
We don't go together, but I want to know now because you you you
Yes.
you set that bar out there. Now I gotta know.
Yeah.
James,
Inquiring minds need to know this.
absolutely.
Right.
Because this is gonna make for a good story. So I need to know when I tell my homegirls, girls, you're not gonna believe this. I need it to be
Exactly.
good. James, is there a number?
um, I'm gonna say I'm on the fence on this one. I don't know. And the reason why I say that because a couple years ago I dated a woman that had five children,
Okay,
you know, and I really couldn't complain about it because I got four myself. So it's like
right,
I can't be the teapot calling the kettle black,
right.
you know. So and we dated for about 2 months, but it became an issue when we would try to schedule stuff, and pretty much her only free day was like every other Thursday. And
Oh,
it's like, okay, well, I'm free on Saturday, Monday, you know what I'm saying? So it was like we really only got to spend time with each other every other week.
wow.
So to me, it's like if I'm not gonna say I want my cake and eat it too. I'm not gonna say whenever I want to see you, I'm gonna see you. But it's it's one of those things to where like, hey, you know, I got I got a babysitter for Friday. Let's go out to the movies. Well, I can't. My kids got basketball camp, and then Saturday morning I gotta go do this, and then Sunday afternoon I gotta do. Okay, where is the free time for me?
Mhm.
Right.
You know, I'm not knocking you for being a parent. I'm not knocking you for putting a lot of time into your children. It's just a matter of okay, where am I going to fit in this equation?
Absolutely. And that's
Quality,
real.
yeah, quality
Go
time is
ahead, Mia.
important. Um, Also, I think about the future. Like, what is our taxes going to look like? I already have to pay taxes. Or are you still on child support? Are you in arrears on child support?
Yes.
And your kids are going to be 40 years old and you're still going to be paying child support,
Right.
I mean, if I know this going in, let it be my choice. It's understand if you got 2 or 3, but 17, like you won't
Yeah.
forever be.
Right. Forever
Ooh.
in our pockets. I can't go to the Bahamas
No.
because we got to pay child support. So yeah. I mean, yeah, that would be tough for me. That would be really tough for me, especially every other Thursday. Yeah.
Yes.
How do we build something if there's so much space, you know?
Definitely.
Right.
Yeah, it'd be all kind of missing blocks. So,
Right. Yeah. There's way too much space. That's too much time for my mind to wander. It's too much time for just me to general wander. You know.
Hmm.
You know. I mean,
meet
I'm just
someone new,
right.
someone with less
Exactly.
children.
Exactly. They got time. Somebody has time for me. You know. So, especially as a woman, where we are very emotional creatures, we need that. I couldn't imagine a guy tell me, "Yeah, I'm every other Thursday." Man, if you don't go sit down somewhere,
He gotta
yeah,
he gotta walk somewhere. I'm sorry, there's someone else there in my
right. That
head.
would make me feel that way. And even
Hmm.
though I get that you're being there for your kids, but it would make my mind wander just too much. Like you got a whole nother family that I don't know about. So
Right.
yeah, because if I'm on a schedule,
Mhm.
don't do schedules. So so
Right.
uh, so let's see. What are your general advice for dating with children? Let's share your final thoughts.
Find someone that will love your children like they love you. Um,
Mm.
that is so important. That if you decide to, when they meet them, that you know that it's going to work, even if they're adult children. I recently got engaged, and he asked my children if it was okay. Thank you, James. He asked my children if it was okay to marry me, and I was like, their opinion doesn't matter, but it mattered to him,
It
and
does.
that really that was like, okay, who could say no to that? Like,
Right. That's awesome.
yeah. So because you do have to have Thanksgiving and Christmas dinner with them, so
Right.
Mm.
so I tell people, do what works for you. Every situation is the same. It's not the same, and you can't give no cookie cutter advice. You know what's going on in your life and the person that you're in love with. Yeah. So
Absolutely. Awesome. What's your advice, James? What you gonna tell the people?
Be patient.
Mm.
Be patient. And that's on both sides of the spectrum. That's with dating someone with children and dating while you have children. You gotta be patient with them, and you gotta have patience with yourself and your children. And also listen to your children,
Oh,
because my oldest son, I just got engaged too back in October.
okay.
And thank you. And I asked my kids, I've been with this person for a little over a year, almost a year and a half now. And I asked my kids, like, what do you think? My son flat out told me, this is the happiest I have ever seen you.
Wow.
And for my oldest son to say that, I'm like, okay, this is real. you
That is
know, the younger ones, they really, well, my 18-year-old, he's kind of like, if he doesn't say anything bad, that's a good thing.
okay.
He's one of those quiet people. If he doesn't say anything bad, it's a good thing.
Okay.
My 16-year-old and my 11-year-old, they gave me, warm blessings pretty much. But it is important that you listen to your children when it comes to especially those life-changing decisions such as marriage.
Yeah.
exactly.
That's awesome. Well, thank y'all so much for sharing with us today. Thank you, Mia. Thank you, James.
Okay.
Very welcome.
Right. I'm going to close out the show today. All right. So, guys, thank you all for joining us here today on So Free and So Single with Z. Today we talked about that juvenile Jenga. Where do our kids fit in the dating scene? Which is a really, really big topic because you have to have those discussions up front. You have to be able to be honest about your feelings, honest about your communication where they're concerned, and be honest about how you feel the interaction should go. So next week we are talking about Jeopardy or Jeopardize. Okay. And what about those dating questions? What do you go ask this person on date number 1, 2, 3? What are we talking about? What are those essential questions that we gotta know? All right. So we'll be back next week to talk about that with our 2 great guests. So again, thank y'all for joining us today. It was a wonderful show. We can't wait to see you all next week on So Free and So Single with Z.